John Leonard, the man that runs and controls the website Dr. Craig Videos, and who is apparently well known for his truculent manner and fascist censorship via blocking and other censorship tactics, directly believes that the BVG Theorem specifically assumes that the universe had an absolute beginning. Mr. Leonard, however, is patently abusing the BVG Theorem since it does not prove or specifically assume the universe had an absolute beginning. The BVG Theorem only shows that inflationary models require physics other than inflation to describe the past boundary of the inflating region. Indeed, the very authors of the paper specifically articulate that what could lie beyond the boundary entails several possibilities, including the boundary of the inflating region corresponding to the beginning of the universe in a quantum nucleation event. The boundary would then be a closed, space-like hypersurface which can be determined from the appropriate instanton. Even worse for Mr. Leonard and the BVG Theorem is that Dr. Aguirre has addressed it and proposed solutions and a physical model that is more advanced than the BVG paper. The BVG Theorem came out in 2001, being revised in 2003. But Dr. Aguirre's Eternal Inflation Past and Future paper dates from December 4th, 2007. One of the most damaging refutations of the BVG Theorem comes from a comment Dr. Aguirre left to Dr. Carroll on April 27, 2007. Dr. Aguirre writes, and I quote, "Bohr, Guth, and Villingen did not prove that eternal inflation has singularities to the past. As you know, most singularity theorems prove geodesic incompleteness, and this is the case here. Well, all of their theorems do are A, write out a set of conditions which they consider to correspond to eternal inflation, then B, show that the region in which these conditions hold is geodesically incomplete. This would indeed be consistent with eternal inflation emerging from a primordial singularity, but it is also consistent with eternal inflation just being grafted on to some space-time region that is not eternally inflating by their definition. This is exactly what Stephen and I did in various ways in our paper, and in most cases, we argue that the extra region was indeed eternally inflating, just not in accord with their criteria for eternal inflation." Unquote. This gives very strong evidence that the BVG Theorem does not in any way give the theist scientific and mathematical proof and license to assert that time, space, matter, and energy had an absolute beginning. Like with the Big Bang singularity, the theist again has no scientific warrant to assert such a gigantic logical contradiction as time having an absolute beginning, and the logical abomination that God created the universe from nothing.